Hello, my name's Eric and welcome to the Big Man's Outdoors. I'm doing the second video in my Sierra 95 grain MatchKing load development, and I'm working on powder charges. Been giving it some thought since I made the first video where I took my overall length measurements as to what powder to use, and I think I'm going to go with H4350 and run that through. I also think I'm going to do the Satterlee Load Development test as well. Something new I haven't tried yet, but I've heard about it, read a little bit about it, and I'm going to put some links in the description if you want to go and look and get more detail about it. There's a couple guys on the Reloader network. When I talk in my video about things I've learned on the Reloaders network, this is one of them. So I'm going to put a couple links in the description to some guys who've done some videos on the Satterlee Load Development. I think one is Vaughn Precision and the other one's Eagle Eye Shooting. So that should be in the description if you want to go in and get more detail about that. But bottom line is I'll just give it a brief summary, and I'm sure they'll explain it in a lot better detail than I ever will. But you pick a powder charge and you shoot different increments of it. I'm going to do 0.2 grain increments and shoot it over a chronograph, and what you should see is your velocities plateau between different charges. And the theory behind it is, and it seems to be proven from what I've read and seen, is that where the velocities plateau is where your best group should be. So I'm going to give that a try with this. It probably does work, and if it doesn't work for me, I would probably guarantee the thing that is wrong with it is going to be the nut that connects the trigger to the bench seat, which would be me. So I'll go through what I'm going to do as far as powder charges in a second. One thing I do have new to the bench is this Lee hand priming tool. I want to see if that would speed up my process for priming. I just got it the other day and started playing with it. It is interesting. Definitely different from doing it on the press like I've been used to. I don't know. I think it does go a little bit faster, but there are certainly nuances to it. And I don't know if it's every hand primer or just this one. I'm not displeased with it, but the first time I used it, I think I did 20 rounds, this group over here, and I put one in backwards because I wasn't paying attention, and one in sideways. I found that the best thing for me is to keep it held at probably about roughly 45-degree angle, and I really need to pay attention when that next primer drops to make sure that it's indexed right. I know you can shake it inside of the shell holder and it'll flip around and you'll get it backwards, which was what happened to me. So definitely something different, not what I'm used to doing, and it showed, but I think as I play around with it, it'll be better. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in there. Let me get this put away, and then I will talk about my powder charges and what I'm going to do, and how I ended up picking my charges. So as I mentioned, it was H4350 that I'm going to run in these. I saw some decent results with the 90 grains. I think at around max charge load, I was getting, or somewhere in there, 26.4. I think I had a sub MOA group. 26.8, I was a bit big, but I think that was me because I aimed at the wrong point on my first shot, but the other four were good, so I'm okay with that. Now, in looking at load data, the first thing I needed to do was figure out how I was going to set this up. Sierra themselves does not have any load data for H4350 on the 95 grain MatchKing. It does have Reloader 17. I printed this out from Sierra's website. I've had this for a while. I'm just pulling it out now. So I went to Hodgdon's website. Man, I always butcher that name. Hodgdon's website, and they don't have any data for the 95 grain Sierra MatchKing as well, but they do have 90 grain Federal Fusion, which is what I was using for the 90 grain Sierra MatchKing. So I compared the two, and again, I know you certainly just can't compare things, swap things out one for the other, but based on what I was seeing, I took a look at the data, and for the 90 grain, Sierra says for Reloader 17, you use 27.0 grains of powder, that's max charge, and that's compressed, and Hodgdon's says the match charge is 26.9 compressed. So I kind of interpolated that. There's just a tenth of a grain difference. So for Sierra on the 95 grain MatchKing, their max load is a 26.4 grain charge of Reloader 17 that's compressed. Their low is 23.4. So I just kind of interpolated that, knowing that there's a tenth of a grain difference. So I think I can use a max charge of 26.3 grains of H4350 and be okay. Certainly, I'm going to start, when I start shooting these, I'm going to start low and work my way up and look for pressure signs for sure, like I always do whenever I'm starting a new load development, but definitely going to pay attention to it. So I'm going to drop at 0.2 of a grain increment, and I'm going to go from 26.3 grains down to 24.5 grains of H4350. And the other thing that I decided on was I'm going to seat these bullets in 95 grain, so I have a overall length of 22.30 inches. In my first video on this series, I was noticed that my what I consider my optimal jump of 0.02 of an inch gave me a case overall length that was way too long for my magazine. So I think I'm going to load these at this length. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot at 100 yards over the chronograph, and I want to see where they hit. I want to see if these bullets are flying all over the place. I do expect some variation in impact based on the different charge weights. That's just to be expected. But if I'm just like completely all over a huge piece of paper, then I may take a look at my overall length and play around with that a little bit. So we will certainly see how this works out. I'm going to get to getting these loaded up, and we'll see how it goes. We're certainly experimenting here. I do enjoy it. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing how these fly. I hope they do well. I guess we'll see. The other thing I wanted to make a quick note about is I'm using these are all twice fired pieces of brass because I'm paying attention to case life in another video series, and I'm checking them with a swage gauge. Checked every piece that I'm primed, and I did find one that was pretty loose. I marked it with a red marker on the bottom. I think it was a guy on my channel, Mag Dumper, who had commented about that in that first series, and I'm going to take his advice and see, just mark that so I can pay attention to it and see how that one ends up after I shoot it the third time. Because again, brass life is something that I need to pay attention to. So that being said, as always, check out the Reloaders Network if you get a chance. Good information there. Like I said, this is all based on stuff that I've learned from there. I don't think I have anything else to add at this time. I'm going to get to loading these up, and we'll give it a try. I might load, instead of just one, I might load two, just in case for some reason I get an error in my chronograph. I'm kind of waffling on that. I don't know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Just have to see how I feel when I'm putting these together. But that should be it for this video. Until next time, thanks for watching as always. This is the Big Man's Outdoors, and have fun outside.